Can people hear me? All right. Okay. So I guess the previous speaker, Lorenzo, ended the talk great. He said, we have to fail, fail, and fail again. So Bitcoin staking came from many failures as well. We tried many, many different protocols before we come to Bitcoin staking. So today, I want to give you a little bit of a background on what Bitcoin staking is, why we think it's an important development, and report some recent progress with the protocol and where we are going. I'm a co-founder of the Babylon protocol. Okay, so the starting point of this idea is the observation that proof of stake is not only a new security model that emerged in the past 5 years, 6 years, but it's also an enormously fast-growing marketplace, staking marketplace. You can see from the numbers that the staking marketplace have scaled to roughly about 30% of the total crypto market cap with a significant amount of reward, okay? So this is a very huge, fast-growing sort of part of DeFi. So we would like to understand why is this such fast-growing, and we come to this very basic observation about proof-of-stake security. It's all because of security. Now, proof-of-stake security is actually a double-sided security. What does that mean? On the one side, it provides security to the proof-of-stake chain. So this is well known. Proof-of-stake is a security model to secure blockchains. In particular, it has a very interesting security property that proof-of-work doesn't have, which is called slashability. What does that mean? That means that the asset is like a collateral, such that if there's any bad behavior in the validator, then the collateral gets slashed. So this is a very strong form of security because nobody wants to get slashed, and therefore everyone should behave well, and therefore the blockchain is secure. So this is a very important property. But on the other side, also very important, is that from the point of view of the staker, the person providing the asset, proof of stake is a trustless protocol. In other words, you stake directly on the protocol. You don't go through a third-party intermediary. For example, if you stake in Ethereum, okay, you stake your 32 ETH on Ethereum, you don't give the 32 ETH to Vitalik and let him stake for you. No, you don't go through him. You directly stake. So therefore, it is in some sense, risk minimizing a way of earning reward. So I think this picture summarizes why the staking market grows so fast. However, there is a pretty significant problem in the space, which is that the staking yield, okay? The yield that you provide to the staker is actually quite high. So here it ranges from a few percent to more than 10%. And often this requires inflation of the token. And inflation, as we all know, is in general not a healthy thing. So security, proof-of-stake security, is in general expensive. So that leads to a problem, which is how do I reduce the cost of security? Security is good. You want to reduce the cost. How do you do that? The observation here is the following. Most proof-of-stake networks, as we now see it, the staking, the security, is provided by the native asset. So Ethereum is secured by ETH, Solana is secured by SOL, et cetera, okay? However, if you think of staking as providing a collateral, then actually any capital, any form of capital, as long as it's a digital asset, should be able to provide that kind of security, okay? So that broadened the view of security as not necessarily provided by the native asset, but it can be provided by any asset, okay? Once I think about that any asset, then there's a very natural question, which is, why not the biggest asset? Why not Bitcoin? So that's it. So you want cheap security, you want an asset which is huge in supply, very big in supply. We're talking about 1.2 trillion is the size of the staking market. Bitcoin itself is already around 2 trillion. So even if you have 1% of that, it's already very, very significant amount of staking asset. So why not Bitcoin? And also, Bitcoin tends to be a very idle asset. Most Bitcoin is earning very little or zero yield, okay? And so therefore, this provides a very interesting opportunity for Bitcoin holders to actually use this very idle asset, an asset which has very little yield, to enter into this fast-growing staking market. So therefore, our project is really connecting the largest asset in crypto, $2 trillion, injected into this fast-growing staking market of size 1.2 trillion. So that basically sums up what this project is about. What it's about is a protocol which retains the key aspect of staking, which is trustless. No Vitalik, no David Shea, nobody in the middle. Entirely an interaction between the staker and the Bitcoin chain. So this is a completely native use case of Bitcoin, okay? What's happening here is that this protocol is creating basically a two-sided marketplace, okay? On the one side, we have the Bitcoin holders, which have lots of Bitcoin, nothing much to do with it. On the right side, okay, we engage with individual chains, L1, L2, and these we call Bitcoin Secure Network, which wants to get Bitcoin security, this cheap form of security. Our protocol, Babylon, is the protocol that connects these two sides of the marketplace together, okay? So a two-sided marketplace only works if each side gets a benefit, so that the sum is greater than the individual parts. What are the benefits? Well, the Bitcoin holders provide security to the Bitcoin secure networks. And so these networks can obtain security at the lowest cost. On the other side, these networks are giving rewards back to the Bitcoin holders because they provide security. And so these holders can hold Bitcoin and receive awards trustlessly. So a very key word here is hold Bitcoins, okay? Hey, everybody wants to hold Bitcoins, okay? Nobody wants to sell Bitcoin. So the cost of holding Bitcoin to most people is that there's no yield. There's no reward. What this protocol provides is that you can hold Bitcoin and you can also obtain reward by putting the Bitcoin to work to provide security. Okay? So that is the two-sided marketplace that the Babylon protocol is creating. So we have launched the mainnet already. In a two-sided marketplace, you usually have to bootstrap it by starting from one side. You never try to bootstrap it by simultaneously pushing up both sides. That's impossible to do. Uber, first get the cars on the road, and then get the passengers. Okay? So our cars are the Bitcoin holders. They're the supplier of capital. So we launched this mainnet through a supply bootstrap. We invite Bitcoin holders to stake the Bitcoin onto the protocol before we launch any network. Okay? We've been doing that for the past few months, and so far, we have accumulated roughly 56K Bitcoin, roughly, give or take, 5.5 billion TVL. This TVL, just to put it in perspective, if you plot it against the staking market cap of all the proof-of-stake chains, the top 25 actually, you'll find that this TVL can secure all but the top 7 POS chains already, although we've only launched the protocol for a few months. So actually, this number is a very interesting number because it really gives the scale of the problem. Bitcoin is such a huge asset, okay? And we're talking about really only 6 billion, which is about, I don't know, 0.2, 0.3% of the total Bitcoin asset. But that has already exceeded all but the top 7 POS chain staking market cap. Okay? Quite interesting, I find. All right. Okay, so just a few words about the technology. So the protocol is trustless. Trustless protocols are hard to build, particularly on Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin has no smart contract. Ethereum, for example, the proof of stake protocol is essentially achieved by a smart contract underlying Ethereum. Bitcoin doesn't have a smart contract, so we used all kinds of cryptographic tricks to make it work, but it works. A particular technique that we use is called extractable one-time signature. And a very important aspect of our technology is that it uses a technique called Fanatic Gadget. And the Fanatic Gadget is like a plug-in, okay? That you can plug on top of any existing proof of stake stack and add Bitcoin security on top of that. So this modular design is super important because we want to enable Bitcoin to secure any proof of stake networks in the world, no matter what the stack is. We've made pretty good progress. So far, we have integrated Bitcoin staking with 3 important stacks. Stack number 1, Cosmos stack. Okay? We've integrated with Cosmos stack. Cosmos SDK is one of the most common stack to build L1s. We have also integrated with the two major layer 2 stacks, OP stack and Arbitrum. So any of you guys who are building networks that fall into one of these 3 stacks can come to Babylon and integrate and get Bitcoin security. We are also working on other stacks beyond these 3. Work in progress. Okay, so we made pretty good progress in addition to accumulating a TVL, also in terms of building an ecosystem. Okay? The Babylon ecosystem. So let me introduce the Babylon ecosystem to get a sense of the breadth of the ecosystem. First, we have already about 10, 15 networks, BSNs, Bitcoin secure networks, that have committed to integrate with us as we grow our mainnet launch. So these include Cosmos SDK chains. It also includes Arbitrum L2s and OPL2 as well. There are many people running these so-called Fanatic providers. Fanatic providers are basically the validators, which are providing the Bitcoin stake security on these networks. So these are examples. We have around 250 Fanatic providers running on our mainnet right now. We have also many DeFi projects and infra projects that we collaborate with in order to build these stacks and also provide support to this BSN ecosystem. We integrated with quite a lot of wallets and custodial so that we can enable different types of Bitcoin holders on different platforms to stake. One of the significant integration we made was with Anchorage a few months ago. Finally, and this is one of the most important, we observed something interesting, which is that when we built the Bitcoin staking, we find that there are a lot of new protocols, liquid staking protocols, which built on top of Babylon. Examples, Lombard, Pump BTC, etc. So these protocols, they get Bitcoin from users, stake the Bitcoin on the Babylon protocol, and mint a liquid asset, a liquid representation, so that users can use the liquid asset while being staked on Babylon. So you can think of these projects as like the analogy of Lido or Rocket Pool on Ethereum, but these are on Bitcoin staking. So this is a very interesting development, and I want to highlight that using one slide. Our project focus is on Bitcoin staking. So you can think of, we're providing a Bitcoin staking layer, okay, that allows staking to provide security. What is happening now is that other projects are building on top of this staking layer a liquidity layer, LSTs, liquidity layer. So then our whole ecosystem now no longer just provides staking security, but it provides security plus liquidity. So now what we're building here, this Babylon ecosystem, is really a two-sided marketplace, not only for security, but also for liquidity, such that the Bitcoin holders can provide liquidity and security to Bitcoin secure networks. Now, actually, security and liquidity go together very well. Why? Because if you have only security and no liquidity, it's kind of useless. It's like you have a huge army protecting you, but you have nothing valuable to protect. If you have a lot of liquidity but no security, then nobody will trust you because your liquidity is not well protected. So they should go hand in hand, and that's what's happening to the Babylon ecosystem right now. Okay, so what's the next steps? Let me use 2 minutes to wrap it up of the mainnet, the Babylon mainnet. As I mentioned, we already launched phase 1, 56,000 Bitcoin staked. Bitcoin holders come in, participate in the Babylon protocol phase 1. So far we have not launched any BSNs yet, any Bitcoin secure network yet. The first one will be launched in the next few months. We call it Babylon Genesis. We call it Genesis because this is the first chain that is secured by Bitcoin. And in addition, it will act as a control plane for this marketplace of liquidity and security. So the idea is that if you have a marketplace, you need an intermediate layer to do the coordination, coordinate the security, coordinate the liquidity. And this first BSN that the Babylon team is building, Babylon Genesis, provides this functionality. Finally, in phase 3, a few months later, we'll launch our partner chains, some of the ones that we mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, Bitcoin secure networks, so that we can complete this ecosystem. Thank you very much.